From support to conflict, the difficult choice between standing by Emma and dealing with my husband's defense of my brother. My husband and I, 29, have been together since high school, and we were introduced by my brother. We have a beautiful 4-year-old daughter who adores Emma, my brother's ex-wife. My brother and Emma have been together for around 4 years. She is an incredible delight to be with, bringing out the best in him. Our entire family cherished her at times. I felt like my parents loved her more than us, and the same was true for my daughter. Emma was a fairy princess to her, and every time we went to take her up, she would cry and urge us to go home and come back tomorrow, because she wanted to be with Aunt Emma. Anyway, Emma was 26 weeks pregnant, 6 months, and we were all looking forward to it. My brother and her had always wanted a baby and seemed overjoyed whenever we visited them. She would have been an amazing mother. Emma had been feeling bad and her stomach hurt, so she requested my brother to drive her to the hospital, where the doctors said everything was all right and sent her home. She kept saying that she didn't feel right, but my brother dismissed it as her overreacting. The next day, my brother, husband, and their friends went for a fishing trip. Emma urged my brother not to go since she didn't feel right and needed someone to be with her. My amazing brother became mad, telling her to quit overreacting, that everything isn't about her, and that he needed some alone time. Well, he turned off his phone and proceeded on the trip. Emma called me crying and asked if I could come over because her stomach hurts. By the time I arrived, she was half conscious on a bloody floor. Rushed her to the hospital. The hospital told they required her husband's signature to carry out the operation. There was a lot of bickering. Although they saved her life, we lost the baby. She woke up screaming and weeping, asking where her child and husband were. It was horrible. Both of my parents and her parents were in tears when they saw her. I kept calling the guys, none of them responded. When Emma finally calmed down, it was even more unsettling. It was as if she had given up, with no soul left in her eyes. My brother returned the next day to an empty, bloody apartment, ran to the hospital and apologized to Emma while crying. She looked at him with no feelings and asked for a divorce. My brother grew depressed after that, and he would spend his days drinking in the baby's nursery. None of us really consoled him. I suppose we all blamed him in some way. My husband went to meet him, and when he returned, he told me about the above and asked that I apologize to my brother for neglecting him and go console him. I refused. He got angry with me and blamed Emma for the miscarriage, claiming that if she was truly ill, she should have gone to the hospital rather than making a scene, and that my brother is suffering as a result of her idiotic decision. He kept defending my brother, stating that it wasn't his fault that he wanted some alone time before the baby, and so on. I couldn't take it any longer, so I told him that if he kept defending, I would divorce him. I took my daughter and left for my parents' home. It's been 2 days and neither of us has tried talking. I'm not sure if I behaved like an and recalling all he said, I believe I should at least console my brother. I suppose I wanted opinions? Edit: prior to performing any life-threatening surgery, the hospital requires the patient to sign a waiver. These paperwork can be signed by the patient or their family. Because Emma was not conscious enough, they required her husband's signature. I was alone and confused, and it was a lot. The hospital agreed after much discussion, but it really caused a lot of unnecessary delay. Info: it was a one-night trip, and they traveled to a cabin where they claimed there was no cell service. They did not think that there would be no network. Comment. First comment. NTA. Lay. For what it's worth, I also had an instance in which something felt wrong and doctors sent me home. I still didn't feel good and called my OB, who demanded the hospital take me in. My husband did not once question how I felt because he trusted in me. It was a good thing that both my husband and OB supported me and didn't make me second-guess myself like how your brother did, because my placenta ended up rupturing. I am so unbelievably sorry for the loss. Your sister-in-law was not to blame. She didn't have the support she very much needed. Maternal care is so easily overlooked. Second comment. Abe, NTA, but your brother is probably at rock bottom. He has lost his child and his wife's love, all because he dismissed her concerns. I cannot imagine his soul-crushing guilt. Also, he is probably at high risk for self-harm, and while he was arrogant and wrong, he isn't trying to be evil. He didn't mastermind this tragedy. Is he responsible for it? Yes, and he is paying dearly. A lifetime of punishment and regret is probably all he can see now. I don't know what to tell you besides everyone needs therapy here, especially him. His foolishness has cost him absolutely everything. It's horrifying to even consider all the suffering your family is facing. Third comment. The SHATest part of hitting rock bottom is that you hurt everyone you care about while you fall down. The brother is mourning. So is the OP. Her brother's own actions caused a significant amount of unnecessary trauma to be fully spread across his entire family. Op had to go into a bloody mess to see a person she cares about in a terrifying way, all knowing that her brother made a deliberate choice to not be there. The brother needs support to help him navigate this. That support does not in any way, shape, or form have to be Op. She has every right to be angry and take her time to heal away from him. No one has the right to demand support from the people we've hurt, regardless of it that hurt was intentional or incidental. The brother had no intention of hurting the people around him like this, extending him that grace is fair. It doesn't change the fact that his actions incidentally caused this entire mess. Op needs the time and space to process it, what she experienced, and that stress without being in a position where she has to provide support for the person she blames for this. That isn't fair to either of them. And Op's husband is an overripe kumquat. Story 2. If I told my wife's dead husband's parents to stop coming to see our daughter? Advice needed. I have been married my wife for about 2 years now, and we had our daughter a year ago. Now, my wife was married before. She got married pretty young, but her husband died. I knew all of this and have been just fine with it. Until now. See, she's still pretty close to her dead husband's parents, and they were excited for the birth of our child. FYI, they only had the one son, no other children at all. They have been coming over to our place about once a week. It was fine at first, but it's gotten kind of suffocating. They have visited us more time than either her parent or my.parents. They have even stayed over our house at times. Something I wouldn't even like even if they were my own parents. Another thing. They talk about their dead son. A lot. Which is usually fine, but they have made some comments that make me uncomfortable. They even said my daughter kind of looks like him, and his mom even said, "Oh, if she's this cute, imagine how cute your kids would have been, if only," when talking to my wife. She was going to say more, but I think she realized what she was about to say. I was right there. I want to be amicable. And I knew that there was going to be some moments like this, but it's starting to make me feel uncomfortable. First comment. Ish. I'm a widower and have 2 kids with my new wife. My kids are in middle school now. I've known my late wife's parents since I was 16. We were living with them when she was ill, and I stayed there after she died unexpectedly, and we got much closer. I was very clear with my new wife when we were dating that they were family to me and that wasn't going to change. It hasn't changed, and she's great with it. My kids have another set of grandparents, and yeah, they know exactly the situation, and I think that my late wife's mom is probably their favorite grandma. They're awesome people. That said, what you've described is concerning. His parents suffered the worst loss there could be. There is no getting over it, only learning to live with it, moving on with life. They sound like they haven't moved on. Your wife needs to talk with them. Also, it would be very generous of you to allow them to continue having a relationship with your kid, though if they can't heal and have a healthy relationship, it is understandable that you'd need them cut off. But yeah, it would be a kindness to work this out with them. In my experience, you can't have too many people loving your child. Second comment. Gar NTA. Holy S8, dude. It's downright toxic. These people aren't grieving, they're living out some twisted fantasy where their son is still alive through your family. And your wife? She's enabling this whole charade. I get it, grief is complicated, but this is way beyond that. They're not just visiting, they're colonizing your life every damn week. Look, I'm going to be blunt, you need to shut this down and fast. This isn't about being nice or accommodating anymore. It's about protecting your daughter from growing up thinking she's some sort of replacement child. Those comments about her looks, the constant presence, the thinly veiled wish that she was their son's kid, that's FK cat up on so many levels. Your wife might be too close to see it, but she's letting these people use your family as a grief band-aid, and that's not fair to any of you. You need to have a come-to-Jesus talk with your wife pronto. This isn't about jealousy or insecurity, it's about setting healthy boundaries and creating a strong identity for your new family. Your wife needs to understand that by indulging her former in-law's delusions, she's not honoring her late husband's memory, she's stunting her ability to move forward and fully embrace her new life with you. Stand your ground on this, man. Your instincts are spot on. These people need serious grief counseling, not weekly visitation rights to play pretend with your kid. And for the love of all that's holy, don't leave them alone with your daughter. The last thing you need is them filling her head with stories about her other daddy. Stay strong, and if your wife won't budge, consider family therapy. This situation is a ticking time bomb of resentment and confusion. Nip it in the bud now. Third comment. Yeah, Yudadubita. To just say not to come at all anymore. Your wife had a family relationship with these people, and if she still likes having them around, then I feel like a child would benefit from a bonus set of grandparents. I think you and your wife need to get on the same page and sit down with them about talking about what ifs for if their son still lived. If you like these people, welcome them into your lives on their own merit as friends. Once a week is reasonable for some but not for others. It would not be an asshole move to ask for less visits as your child is not their therapy pet. It's okay if they want to have a bonus grandparent role in your child's life, but it is not okay if they want to pretend your child is their son's child. I think with some adult conversation and boundaries laid that it'll be okay. It doesn't need to be all or nothing.